Hello, this is Kevin Morrison, Cook County Commissioner here in the 15th District, representing the northwest suburbs of Cook County. I want to thank you all for joining us for day 4 of our virtual outdoors week. Each day this week, I have been highlighting a different organization in Cook County that embraces nature and protects our local environment. On Saturday, we will end the week with our second fishing derby at Busse Lake in person, so you don't want to miss out. This weekend, you do not need a license to fish, so I hope you'll be able to join us in person at the lake near the boating center. Registration is required, though, so to participate in our fishing derby, please click on the link in the comments to sign up and reserve your spot. Today, I'm happy to be here with two incredible partners at the Shedd Aquarium. We've got Andrea Densham, Senior Director of Government Affairs and Conservation Policy, and Dr. Melissa Youngquist, a research biologist at the Shedd Aquarium. I want to thank them both for being here. Dr. Youngquist, welcome. Could you give us a brief introduction and let our viewers know what kind of work Shedd does in the field and how our viewers can get involved?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on so that we can share the work that Shedd is doing right here in Chicago to protect our local animals. I am one of the research biologists, and I mostly focus on amphibians. And so I was really surprised to learn when I moved here to Chicago that Cook County has 13 species of frogs and toads that are making their homes in the forest preserves of Cook County. And so we have really great opportunity to protect all these species here by partnering with Cook County Forest Preserves, who are doing a lot of habitat restoration work. And so the species that people might be most familiar with for the amphibians is this spring. You may have heard chorus frogs out and about calling in late March and early April. They are really loud, they're super abundant. And right now is when all the eggs they laid back in April are the tadpoles have hatched out and they're now metamorphosing. So if you're walking around near a little pond, you might want to take a really close look because you might see some little tiny itty bitty metamorphs hopping through the grass. Right now is also when the bullfrogs, the green frogs, and tree frogs are getting active. And so if you're hanging out at a lake or by one of the rivers, you might hear those frogs calling. And so it's a really great time to get out and see our local amphibians. And you can follow our Twitter at Shedd Research to see some of the animals that I'm out studying right now. So part of our work with the forest preserves is removing invasive plants from around our wetlands. We are really focusing on temporary wetlands. These are ponds that fill up in the spring, and they usually dry by the end of June or in July. And these are really important habitats for things like chorus frogs and tiger salamanders and blue-spotted salamanders, because these species can't survive with fish, and ponds that dry don't have fish. And so by preserving these temporary wetlands, we are helping these amphibians that are unable to coexist with the fish predators. So people can come out with Shedd Action Team in the fall and the winter. We really rely on our community volunteers to get out and remove invasive species like buckthorn and honeysuckle. These invasive plants really harm the habitats and the animals that use these wetlands. And right now there's lots of opportunities for people to get out and become engaged with Shedd Aquarium and our work to revitalize habitats around Chicago. We have our Kayak for Conservation, so you can come support Shedd by signing up to go kayak in the rivers and do some community science and learn about the ecology of our riverine habitats. We are doing river plantings, so we are collaborating with Friends of Chicago River to plant some vegetation in the North Channel. This is one of those things where if you plant it, they will come. Lots of animals rely on really good aquatic vegetation to enhance their habitats. And so we're really hoping that by revitalizing the river habitat, we will help our native aquatic animals. And finally, we are tackling plastic pollution. We have beach day cleanups and river cleanups where we are engaging with our volunteers to get out and clean up all the plastic pollution because our animals really rely on us to keep their habitats and their homes clean.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for sharing that. That is absolutely fascinating, and thank you so much for being here today. I whatchamacallit, want to move on next. Andrea, welcome and thank you for all that you have been doing for our community. Could you give us an overview of what Shedd's policy team is doing in regards to local conservation efforts?
Love to. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you everybody for joining us this absolutely gorgeous summer day. Our work on the policy side is pretty expansive. We work from international work with our friends in Canada, as well as our colleagues in the Bahamas, where we've been doing work for more than 20 years, as well as here in the Great Lakes. And so, I often say that what my job is to protect the Great Lakes and the ocean for generations to come. We have a great opportunity right now within the federal government to bring resources back to here in Chicago, and especially to Cook County, to help do that revitalization that Melissa was just talking about, to help us address some of the harms that have happened in the past and to rebuild them in sustainable ways so that we can have strong and healthy habitat for our aquatic life, but also healthy and resilient spaces for all of us to enjoy, including fish. I will be out there at the fishing derby, so I'm really excited about that. And I just want to talk about a couple really great federal projects that we're supporting and urging action on that we think will be able to help us back here in Cook County. One is a new initiative by the Biden-Harris administration called America the Beautiful. It has elements of something that some of you may have heard of, which has been talked about as 30 by 30, saving 30% of our waters and land in order to preserve the ecosystems and the wonderful wildlife that lives there. The Biden administration has expanded that to really bring in the core issues of conservation, hiring, and job improvement and career development, to ensuring that we're safeguarding our shores and our wetlands and our other sort of brackish nearshore waters and on the ocean side, and that we provide space for healthy recreation. I think we all know after the past year how important it is to be out in nature, and how good it is for our mental health as humans, as well as how critical it is for our wildlife to be able to sustain themselves. We also really know that we're in the middle of a biodiversity and a climate crisis. And one response to that has been the new Ocean Climate Action bill that has just been reintroduced last week in Congress. We're urging for that passage. We're also urging for the inclusion of climate-ready supports in the infrastructure bill, so that organizations like Shedd and others across the region, can prepare our institutions for the next steps in responding to climate change. So those are just a few things. And the one last thing I'm going to talk about is a great bill that Senator Durbin has just launched. We were happy to host him at a press conference at Shedd Aquarium. It's a plastic-free pellets bill. You're going to see a link in the comments section. Please link on it and send your support for this important bill. Melissa was talking about how much work we have to do to clean up pollution once it's in the waterways. It's actually really hard to get out. If we could stop it from getting there in the first place, that is a much more effective use of our time and our resources. And that way we can keep our habitat clean without having to go back and clean it up. That's what the Plastic Free Pellets Act is going to be doing. It's going to be keeping those little plastic pellets from getting in the water in the first place, holding industry responsible from being for their part in that, and making sure that we don't have to do the back end cleanup. Always better to prevent something than have to clean it up at the end. So that's just a small snapshot of the work that we're up to. Happy to talk about many of the other activities we're doing, but our work is really to try to help protect and restore our habitat, and then bring resources back to Cook County and to Chicagoland and Illinois areas so that we can continue our fantastic work. Thank you so very much.
No, thank you so much, Andrea. No, I just am so appreciative of all the work that Shedd does to protect our natural habitats and local ecosystems, especially the advocacy work. Those videos of all those plastic pellets that have been consumed by our aquatic life are just, horrible pictures to see, and anything we can do to stop that from happening is critical. So I really appreciate you explaining that to our viewers and all your work. We're about to move to our discussion portion of today's conversation. So for all our viewers out there, if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to add, please put them in the live comments and we'll be happy to get those addressed. So whatchamacallit, let's start off with a question from Melissa. What animals can be found in our local, in our local forest preserves? Okay, I apologize. I wasn't sure if I was looking at the right or wrong question, but do you have information of some of the national fish species that are in our Cook County Forest Preserves?
So unfortunately, I am not studying the fishes, so I don't know which all fish are in our forest preserves, but our forest preserves host a lot of diversity that are not fish. So like I said, we have about 13 species of amphibians. That includes things like wood frogs, chorus frogs, tiger salamanders. We have newts, bullfrogs, green frogs. There's lots of mammals, so people may be familiar with deer, but we also have muskrat and beaver. Coyotes are abundant. I don't know what else. Squirrels, 3 types of squirrels. We have 3 squirrel species, skunks, and then so many birds. And so one of the things that at our sites is that we have lots of woodpeckers. So we have red-headed woodpeckers, red-bellied, downy, woolly, flickers. There's just so much life out there in our forest preserves.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing that. I saw the first question was about our forest preserves. I'm like, wait, is that her area of expertise? Am I supposed to really ask that question? Yeah. Next question I have is for Andrea. How can people be good stewards of the environment when they're outside this summer?
Absolutely. There's some simple things that everyone can do, right? So we can, for those of you who have yards and your own little land that you live near or by, you can make sure that if you're planting things, you're planting native plants so that you're helping the birds have food. You're making sure the insects have food. We want to help those bees come back and become healthy parts of our ecosystem. I think what you're getting a sense of when you hear me and Melissa talk is that the ecosystem is more than just one creature, right? And all of them live together as we live with them. So if you think of ecosystems as neighborhoods, we want to keep our neighborhoods healthy, and the more that we keep them clean, the more vibrant they can be. So if you go for a hike, whatever you hike in with, hike it back out. If you go to the beach, make sure to grab all the things that you take to the beach. And one thing that we're really encouraging folks to think about this year, and especially as we're reopening, is to move towards reuse. So when I have a little my water here, and this is in a little mason jar. Well, that's reusable, right? I can reuse it over and over and over again. If I go to the beach, I have some stainless steel cups I can bring to the beach and drink my cold beverages off of that. We really want folks to think about ways that they can make choices in their own life to do that. Also want to encourage those folks that are part of civic organizations or even small businesses to think about how they can make sustainable choices, how they can not spray pesticides on their lawn or at their businesses, or how they can make choices to move towards reuse or make sustainable plantings. And we also, it would be malpractice of me not to talk about storm water runoff, right? There are a lot of ways we can do, and we're about to have probably a pretty good rain tonight. There are lots of things that all of us can do, whether we're small businesses, civic organizations, or individuals, to try to reduce our stormwater runoff, to capture it, keep it where it is, and that helps all of the plants become healthy, but it also helps all the creatures that live near them. So, those are just a handful of things. And the last thing, I guess, because it's what I do for a living, I always love encouraging folks to contact people like you and then talk about how important it is, how much they care about the environment and why it matters. And I think it's often underappreciated how important a small phone call or even a hey, hi there, when they see folks like you out in the neighborhood, to make sure that that and all of our elected officials know how important these issues are to them.
Well, that's exactly right. And you were mentioning runoff and ways that we could trap and reuse some of that water. For those who are going to be coming to our fishing derby this Saturday, I just learned today that we're going to have 5 rain barrels that are going to be raffled off. And so It's a good opportunity to do just that. The next question I have coming in is for Melissa. What have you learned so far by studying amphibians, and what piqued your interest in amphibians?
Oh, so I have been an amphibian fan since I can remember. My mom always tells the story of how when I learned that frogs eat mosquitoes, I brought some frogs into my room to catch them one night to protect me from the horrible mosquitoes and their diseases that they carry. So that really sparked my interest when I was like 3 years old. And what we've learned is that amphibians really play this really important role in our ecosystems as like they're like this linchpin, right? So they eat so many things, right? So they eat the mosquitoes, they eat other insects, they eat all those animals that are smaller than them. But then other species rely on the frogs themselves. And so we have turtles and snakes and birds and mammals that are all eating these amphibians. And so without the amphibians, we just have a degradation of our whole ecosystem.
No, I appreciate you adding that. No, I remember specifically when me and my family would go to Florida every summer. In my earlier years, you avoid all the frog chirping, and I'm not sure if or ribbiting, whatever the more adequate term is for it. But I remembered as I was reaching my teenage years, the population of frogs in Florida started drastically decreasing. It's noticeable even to me prior to realizing that there were a lot of issues that were affecting amphibian life in our natural environments. And so some things I've learned is that they're really good at absorbing things that they touch in their natural environment. Could you go into more detail about that and ways that we could protect them by being better stewards and not leaching chemicals into those habitats?
Yeah, absolutely. So frogs have what we call a permeable skin. That means they kind of soak up like a sponge all the chemicals in the environment. And so the obvious things are things like pesticides, right? We want to use pesticides responsibly. And so sometimes pesticides are necessary to prevent pests and weeds from growing, but we don't want to overuse those, and we don't want to use them in areas where there can be a lot of runoff that gets into their habitats. And the same thing with salt. So especially in Chicago, we use lots of salt in the winter, and we need that to protect us as we walk and drive on our streets. But if we overuse salt, then when the spring comes, all that salt runs off into our freshwater habitats. And our freshwater habitats have species that can't deal with salt. And so having too much salt in our rivers and our ponds harms the amphibians and harms our fishes and all the other species that live there. And so we really want to be conscious and responsible of how we use these chemicals.
Awesome. And one last question, Melissa. This one's just my curiosity.
Yeah.
I know that putting on sunscreen when you, like, say, swim with the coral reef tends to have a negative effect on those species and the corals. Is it the same thing with amphibians? If you have sunscreen on your hands, should you not go and attempt to pick up a frog?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're very sensitive to those oils and chemicals. And so I would say don't put sunscreen on your palms and go rub it on a frog. That's not going to help anybody.
Okay, no, good. Hey, we're all learning something. I love that. Thank you so much for that. The next question I have is for Andrea. Are there any other policy initiatives that you'd like our viewers to know about and how they can be helpful?
Absolutely. You know, we are really excited about some of the great opportunities that are going to be coming along with some of the new funding initiatives in Congress. And I'm focusing on Congress just because there's a lot of movement right now that we had not much movement, obviously, in the last 4 years, or we had a lot of defensive, and now we have some really positive ones. One thing that I think is really important for folks to think about is how we can help young people become the next generation of conservationists. And so one of the other great initiatives in that we hope is going to be part of the infrastructure bill is a conservation corps, hiring young folks and for them to go out and work in places like the Cook County Forest Preserves. In fact, we have an initiative right now that we're hoping will be funded in this next fiscal years to take the work that we were doing on the North Channel to the South Channel to be able to expand conservation jobs, to be able to expand our work on cleaning up the post-industrial sites down on the South Channel, and then to be able to build a model that we hope that can be replicated across Cook County and the state of Illinois, where we're teaching the next generation of young people of how to do conservation work and have careers, as well as to clean up all that post-industrial pollution that's out there, and then leave behind a really beautiful, amazing space, not only for our wildlife, but also for the neighbors that live there. So those kind of initiatives and the funding that's required to go with it are really important. The other thing is we do need statewide energy policy. And, you know, for those folks who have been tracking what's been happening, I encourage them to reach out to their state legislators and make sure that those folks know how important having responsible energy policy is for all of us. To that last note, Shedd Aquarium is part of a national group called the Aquarium Conservation Partnership. Later this year, we'll be announcing our next joint commitment on conservation and energy efficiency. Together, all 23 of us are going to be making a commitment to reduce our carbon footprints. So that means our footprint here in Chicago. And I was just talking with our chief building officer, and he is really excited for us to be able to advance that kind of work. And we are happy to join with anyone else, any other businesses, any other NGOs who want to join in making those kind of commitments to reduce our carbon footprint and to prepare for the next generation in a sustainable way.
No, I think that's exactly right, Andrea. Thank you for sharing. And I know many of us were disappointed to see that there wasn't a vote on a clean energy bill out in Springfield yesterday. There's talk that likely one will pass this summer. I hope that's true. I think any way that we can invest in clean energy jobs is not only good for our environment, it's good for our economy. And so call your state legislators. And you also mentioned ways that people can give back and go and clean our natural habitats. I was lucky in high school. My senior year, we actually went out and we're removing buckthorn from some of the local forests in the area. And it is so much fun whenever you get an opportunity to go out. You see the difference after just hours of volunteering, and it really is satisfying and fulfilling. So for our viewers out there, I hope you get an opportunity to do some volunteer hours this summer. It really is a lot of fun.
I'll say I'm the non-conservationist, but when I get out there, I find it therapeutic. So totally want to endorse what you just said. Sorry to step on you there.
No, I appreciate you for sharing that as well. You had mentioned mental health earlier in your introduction, and that's exactly right. Whenever you're out in nature, there's just something peaceful. It's like when you go to a large body of water, it's like for a moment, there's no anxiety or fear or drama in your surroundings. It's just a moment where you can be at peace. And so any opportunity to be out in nature, especially in times like this where things are more lively in our summers, it's always a good opportunity to get out. My next question I have is for Melissa. What actions can people take to protect animals in their natural habitats?
Yeah, so one of the biggest actions you can do is to clean up your trash. We put this over and over again, but all the pollutants, whether it's the tiniest little wrapper for your cookie, to the pesticides, to the herbicides and the fertilizers you apply on your lawn, the salt, right? Everything. We just want to keep our habitats as clean as possible. And so that's the one thing that everybody can do on their own, is to just manage the waste that they produce in their daily lives. And then, of course, come out with Shedd, do some restoration work with us. Or the forest preserves, they have volunteers that get out into all their districts. And so just get outside, get sweaty this summer, and clean up some habitats.
We were discussing in one of our earlier virtual events this week that when you see fishing line near any of the fishing locations in Cook County, we've got places where you could distribute that and throw that away at the preserves. It could be very dangerous to wildlife in those surroundings. And so getting rid of that trash, utilizing the garbage cans, picking up after yourself, or like Andrea said earlier on, using reusable so that you're not having any waste to begin with, are all great ways to give back. The next question I have is for both Andrea and Melissa. What made you want to work at Shedd Aquarium? Andrea, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I'm a kid that grew up in Michigan. My mom was a conservationist and actually worked with amazing environmentalists who became the first state senate first woman state senator in the state of Michigan, Lana Pollock. So I got to watch as a kid what the possibility of impact was, right? And when the opportunity came around to join Shedd and to be able to use our megaphone, to be able to educate the 2 million guests we have each year in a good year, when everyone's able to join us, and to be able to work with people like you. I mean, that's really the opportunity, is that this gives us the opportunity to educate the public like those who are joining us today, to work with people like you, to come up with smart public policy that's really impactful, and to inspire the next generation to become people like me. We need a pipeline of folks doing this great work. We need a pipeline of great scientists like Melissa. We need more folks doing our work, and we need more people serving like you are. So I hope that folks know that all of us are here as resources, and if there's ever a time that you want to chat with any of us offline, we'd love to help inspire you to be the next generation. The other thing I just want to say is, in terms of what Melissa and you were both saying in terms of reducing trash, if we change our purchasing decisions at the front end, it just doesn't impact how much trash we have. It actually goes way upstream. The more sustainably something's manufactured, the less pollution it causes, and there's a whole wonderful domino effect that's positive, just as the negative one happens. And I really want to inspire folks to think about the positive impacts we can have, and what your choices can be made at a business, at a government level, and at the individual level, that can have a really beautiful knock-on effect in a positive way.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that's amazing about your mom. Congratulations to her on making Michigan history. I hope to hear more stories from you in the future. And how about you, Melissa? What got you interested? What pushed you to want to give back and work at Shedd?
Yeah, so Shedd is just a really great place where you can meld science with action and community. And so I just love that the work we're doing, the whole research team at Shedd, we don't only do amphibians. Like, we've got freshwater mussels, we've got fishes, we've got all the work in the Bahamas with iguanas and snails, the corals work. And so all of our work is making direct impacts on the aquatic life, as well as the people that use those habitats. And so by making direct action and contributions to not just science, but society, I think that's a really great place that Shedd is at right now, and helps us do really impactful work.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, I definitely look forward to my next opportunity to come and visit the Shedd Aquarium. It is always a great time. And I just want to remind our viewers out there, if you have any questions for our guests today, please put your questions in the comments. Also, if you have any questions, if you're going to be watching this recording later, you can get those to me. We'll be happy to find you the answers. Melissa, I have a question for you. What is your favorite part of your research?
I love getting out, getting dirty, and catching frogs. Like this summer is when I'm out doing tadpole surveys. You've got a big net, you wade into a pool, and you just catch as many tadpoles as you can. That just fills me with joy.
No, I love that. That is awesome. I love doing the same when I growing up was always out there catching frogs, or I would go to my family's restaurant. We have those big jardinera containers. I would make my own dirt natural habitats. Definitely love getting my hands dirty. Andrea, my next question I have is for you. A lot of things have changed, especially in light of COVID. I'm curious, over the summer, what does Shedd have to offer for our guests? Is there anything new and exciting that you want to share?
I really want to encourage young folks and adults to come out to get in a kayak with us. It's really fun to be on the water. We really want more folks to feel comfortable on the water. So we have a youth program that's open to all, and we have an adult and family program. When you're out there, you're not only going to just be on the water, you're going to be able to learn a whole bunch about why it matters that the work that I get to do every day, which is to, protect and restore the amazing habitat that we have. It's really important to know why the heck we're doing that work. And so getting out there on the water right now, especially this year, is fantastic and really important. I also, want to inspire folks to think about creative ways, if they are passionate around some of the issues we talked about, to use social media, to talk to their friends, and to really try to activate on it, right? So if you really care about these issues, use your social feed, and some of the posts that we put up there to talk about why it matters to you and to share it with your friends and to, bring it to local businesses you care about or local elected officials you care about, and know that we're right here to work with you to help you do that work too. There are a number of really great coalitions that we could plug you into. And I would also want to highlight our new Let's Shed Plastic campaign, a wonderful project that we're doing jointly with NOAA to try to help restaurants, especially those restaurants who had a really hard year this past year, think about how they reopen sustainably as we move forward. And so please know if there anyone who works at a restaurant or owns one to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help provide you some technical assistance and support you and bring you into a learning community that we're building across the Chicagoland area.
Well, that is amazing. And for our viewers, if you've never been in a kayak before, make sure you get that opportunity. It's too much fun. Is there any information you'd like to share, Andrea, for how our viewers can plan their next visit to Shedd? Is there any additional signups or advance notice that must be given?
Yeah, going online is the easiest and fastest way. So if you go to our Shedd homepage, you'll be able to find a way to go online, buy your tickets in advance, and you'll be able to smoothly enter. You'll be able to identify a great time that works for you and your family if your family is joining us. And we really encourage you to do that. We've found that our guests have really enjoyed this new online interface, and we're really excited about it. So please do that. And if you want to go for the Kayak for Conservation, I think those links have also been up there. And please follow us on social media. We have a bunch of sites. We have the research Twitter, and we have our regular Facebook. We have an Instagram account. And we're going to keep you up to speed. We also have an Act with Shedd account that also keeps you totally up to speed with all of our amazing policy work and ways that you can join us in trying to make an impact.
That is so amazing. No, I appreciate you sharing that. Andrea, are there any upcoming exhibits that you'd like to highlight at the aquarium?
I think what's one thing that I really want to encourage folks now that the weather is really nice, and it's one of my favorite things to do in the summertime, is to see the stingray touch. So if you are able to come by, we would love for you to join us and take some time to make sure you go out there and see our beautiful stingrays. They're absolutely, absolutely amazing.
That is awesome.
And Melissa, do you have a favorite by any chance? I don't mean to monopolize that.
My favorite exhibit? Yeah, I'm partial to the Amazon Rising exhibit because it is our freshwater exhibit, and there's so many herps. There's the frogs, turtles, snakes in there. It's just really a feast for the eyes.
That is awesome. No, like I said, I look forward to my next opportunity to come out. I have a question. This one's for both of you. How can our viewers better support Shedd's conservation work? And who wants to go first? Let's start with Melissa.
Yeah, well, I would say I just reiterate, come to Shedd, go to the Shedd website for the action days and sign up to come out. We have summer programs, fall programs, winter programs. So every season there's something going on where you can get involved with the Shedd and come and revitalize our habitats.
We also just launched a brand new global conservation advocacy platform called Surge. So I really, really encourage folks to join Surge. We're going to be having special content for folks who join our group, and you'll be able to talk with folks like me, but also some of the special guests that we're able to bring to you. You're going to be able to get first in the know when we're doing work on public policy work, but you'll also get great content from content experts like Melissa, other scientists, not only from Shedd, but from across the world and across the country. So please join us there. We think that's going to be a really fantastic new way for folks to engage. While it's a digital to start content, we also are going to be linking that directly to ways that you can join us in the field, out in real life, out in the world. And also something to keep in mind, and something that will be coming very soon, is we've been working with NOAA on a brand new marine sanctuary in the Great Lakes. Soon to come, we'll have more to share on that, and it's not too far away from Chicago. So we're really excited about that as well, and really honored to be able to partner not just with NOAA, but the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation on that issue.
No, that is absolutely incredible. Well, please, I just want to let you both know if there's any way that I could be of more assistance to helping Shedd or some of your conservation initiatives. I'm not fearful of getting my hands dirty, so I'm ready to get out there. Unless our viewers have any other questions that they want to put in the comments, I do want to go around the horde one last time and see if there's any last thoughts that you would like to share. Dr. Youngquist?
Yeah, I would just say get outside, sit by a pond, and listen for the frogs, because I think that's very calming, relaxing, and rejuvenating experience.
Come Saturday, join us and Austin, one of our other researchers. He's going to know what the fish are that I might try to catch. So we'll see if Andrea can catch any fish and make my grandma proud. And like, if you're inspired, please join us in activating and reaching out to your friends and families to encourage them to act, and contacting fantastic elected leaders like Mr. Morrison here, who's been a fantastic leader for us in Cook County, and we're really honored to be able to work with you. So thank you for the opportunity today. We greatly appreciate it, Kevin.
Well, that is very kind of you, Andrea, and thank you, Dr. Youngquist and Andrea, for joining today. I cannot wait to see you on Saturday. It's going to be a blast. I really, it's so good that we're going to have opportunities to be face-to-face again. It's been a tough year, but we've got new exciting things on our horizon as this world is opening back up. And for our viewers out there, if you've never had an opportunity to engage in some conservation work and tearing down buckthorn or helping clean our waterways, if you're looking for a new hobby, something that I cannot stress enough how enjoyable it is. So please try to get those opportunities. I want to thank all our audience and viewers for watching today. Join us this Saturday for my fishing derby, where you'll be able to meet staff from the Shedd Aquarium in person. Don't forget to register in the link in the comments, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care, everyone. Thank you again, Shedd, for joining us today.